Hello, and hello some more. Thank you for clicking on this video of my court case. Now, not to waste any more of time, which I didn't waste any time to begin with, let's go right into it. Provide a summary of your selected court case. Alright, well, a little summary about my court case. So, California wanted to ban all video games. And I'm talking from rated E to 10 enough to teen to rated M to adult. Adult games really, those are pretty self-explanatory when it comes to those. But from E to M, yeah, they wanted all games banned to minors, and it's kind of not the best because most of the kids play a lot of games, really. And the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, yes, the one goes R. Yeah, that one was the governor of California, and he wanted to ban video games. This court case, typically, the court cases, like when it comes to video games, typically get thrown out because it really has no merit and typically is protected by the First Amendment. But apparently, this one went through and went all the way straight up to the tippity top, which is the Supreme Court, which is the court of land, which we all know. Yeah, and that took a good minute. And then there was this guy named.
Antonin Scalia.
I assure you, I was gonna butcher that name. But yes, Anthony Salido came through. He was one of the Supreme judges. It was a ruling of 7-2, 7-4 video games, and two against. And then won the case. Also, video games protected by the First Amendment, being a freedom of speech and expression, which that is most ever protected. And I think the people against video games try to use the case saying it was obscene or it doesn't go against this or that, but it was beaten in court. Now, with that little summary, let's go on to the next one. You must address the amendments. Well, like I was saying in the little summary, this court case really played a very fair factor into the numero uno First Amendment. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of expression, just everything basically the First Amendment goes into literally video is protected by video games. And Antonio Sanido, pretty sure I butchered his name. Sorry about that. But he literally was using the fact of, wait, this is protected by the First Amendment. Video games, movies, books all have the same protection. If we try to take it away from video games, then we have to take away from everything else. Because the main problem with this case, like people who say they were against video games, was because they said it was too violent. And I don't know if you noticed, but movies, books, and other media can be quite violent sometimes. So if you go after video games, you have to go after everything else that applies to that as well. And thankfully, the First Amendment protects that freedom that they have. And explain where challenges with your case. I think I just did with that. Like I said, the First Amendment protects the freedom of press, the freedom of religion. Now I'm just going down everything with the First Amendment, but the First Amendment does protect the right to publish your video game, movie, media, and anything of that nature. Going on, discuss any ethical and moral dilemmas related to this case. Ethics. That's what we're all here for, baby. That's what we're all here for. That's what we're all here for. Ethics, morals, and dilemmas. All right, so now, first off, going with the ethical part. Now, I can see from both sides of the party. Even though I'm more favored into the part where they don't ban video games because I like games, but I would say for the against side, I can see why the ethical part. Like there are a lot of bloody, deadly games. Like I can see why you would need to monitor that with your children, and but mostly just for the parents to do that for. Also, another thing. Once again, there are warning labels on the games. Like if we're looking at this from an ethical point, ethically, you should not be letting kids play very violent games, like really very violent. Like I'm talking like kids, like let's say from age around like 5 to about 12 or 10. Like you wouldn't let them play a game like GTA where it has a bunch of killing, robbing, stealing, sex, and like all that. Like like that's violent. Like obviously you wouldn't let them do that. Like that's what parents are coming and be like, no, 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 no. We're not gonna let you touch this, so we're gonna push this away. And then you can have when you're a bit older, like 14, or whatever parents feel like it's acceptable. And from the other side, the video game side, you can't just take away all games because it's violence. Because like once again, going back to the movies and comics point, there are violent things in there. Heck, even the first Superman issue, or even all the other issues after that, it has a lot of violence. Even though you can't really see it, you gotta see with your mind. But it still contains violence. Also, banning all video games with just a little bit of violence, like even a game like Fortnite, which it didn't come out around the time when this was going on. This is from like 2005, 2011. But the point still stands. Even a cartoonish game like that, and it also had other cartoon games like that. So you can't just ban all video games because of violence. Everything has violence in it. It just depends on how much violence and what kind is being shown. That's what the ethical part. And moral dilemma part. Well, I'm pretty sure I also touched on the moral part, but like you can't just take away video games just because it has a little bit of violence. Kind of not very right. Because I understand morally, you don't want kids being surrounded, being shown a bunch of violent things. That's understandable. I get that. But the moral part comes in the world is a mostly dangerous place. And like keep them away from most dangerous and moral most dangerous or violent things because this is all about violence, about how video games, violence and this, that. But as once again, I say as a thing for the parents to make sure the kids are monitored of what their things to do. Like the lawmakers shouldn't take away the games. The parents should be the full responsibility for that one of what they see and play. With that part out the way, introduce Supreme Court Justice you researched. Ah, great guy. So once again, going back to this great man named
Antonin Scalia.
Antonin Scalia. Ansta, Ansta, Ansta.
Antonin Scalia.
Yeah, that guy. That guy. So for some background on him, he was a Supreme Just Court, and he actually worked on this case. But for a little bit of background on him, he was a former assistant judge from the Supreme Court of the United States. He was born on March 11, 1936, in Trenton, New Jersey, and died on February 13, 2016, Calaco Creek Ranch, Texas. He had his education. He was at many different places like Xavier High School, University of Harvard in law, and he made many landmark rulings, including the one talking about video games. He also was working one day in university, and then this little guy named George Bush literally came to him. Oh wait, no, not Bush, not Bush, not Bush. My mistake, my mistake, my mistake. Ronald Reagan came to him and appointed him as United States Court Appeals. And then later on, he became the U.S. judge. Really great little full circle. But more little background information on him. He also worked on many different cases. Like he's even worked on landmark cases besides just this one. Um, he worked on quite a few, like this little case on DC versus Heather. He even worked with cases that even deal with religion and stuff like that. Even things talk about the 14th Amendment, the First Amendment, and basically he dealt in different types of amendments. And he had a very quite interesting way of his legal tactics. Uh, Criticism. No, it wasn't criticism. It wasn't criticism. It was dealing with the way his mental, his psychic. Like he had a very special way of dealing with that too. But yeah, going back to the main point, Scalito. I know I'm butchering this man's name. Skeletal was a main contributor for the fact of becoming the 72 for the video game case. He literally brought up the fact of like I keep saying before, the comics, the movies, the books, like all that stuff contains violence, but they didn't go after that, so they were going after video games. And that's just a little bit about Skeletal. And now for my own personal opinion. Do I agree with the outcome or do I not agree with the outcome? Personally, me, I agree with the outcome. To the like I said before, 7-2 that the Supreme Court just gave. And the reason why I feel that is because they tried taking video game they tried to take video games away because it's too violent. Now, are some games very violent? Yes. Are some games you should give to a 2-year-old? No. But you can't just take away video games altogether from minors. Like a minor is from age of literally 1 to 18. And that age gap right there, they like to play games. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Like you're still classified as a minor. You still can't buy or purchase games. Even like I said before, from E to everyone. And when I say E to everyone, I'm talking about like Wii Bowling, Wii Sports Resorts, Mario, Sonic, all the games that are literally targeted towards kids, you cannot play, which is insane. And the violence in those games are literally cartoon violence. Like literally, you watching Looney Tunes has a bunch of cartoon violence, but that's not gonna make you be very. That's not gonna make you be a violent person, because they were saying how video games are violent and you'll be violent and they'll teach you how to do a bunch of bad things. No, that's not the case whatsoever. Video games can teach you quite a lot of good things, but sometimes they can't teach you some bad things. But they were really trying hard on the fact of trying to take away the video games from all minors. And thankfully, as we all know, and well, as I've said, that it is protected by the First Amendment, which protects the video games of how they're produced and produced. I said produced twice. How they're produced and how they are distributed, given the label at the bottom, at the back, and everywhere around the game, telling you what the game is going to be about, telling you what the game is, isn't, and everything else in between. And I'm so glad that they realized this when they were doing their case ruling, because there could have been a chance that video games had been taken off shelves in California, and then if that case would have worked, then a bunch more cases would have popped up here, there, there, that, and it. It could have been a whole nationwide being like, you know what? We should stop stealing video games all across the country to minors. And then you probably would have missed out on all your favorite games growing up. Now, of course, yeah, your parents would probably buy it for you, but like, let's say they didn't have the money or they didn't feel like buying it for you. Then, how else were you gonna get it? Now, you could have just snuck it this way or that way, but you wouldn't get the feel of the pure joy you would go to your probably local GameStop or wherever you go to get your local games and then play it, enjoy it, and just live the memories that you've loved playing that game. And this has been my time. Thank you for listening to me, and have a good day.